Welcome to the Conversations with Eileen podcast. I'm your host, Eileen Guido. I'm a creative soul on a mission to motivate, connect, and build community. And I want to thank you for joining me on my quest of inspiring others, one conversation at a time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to begin.
Remember, click subscribe. That way you never miss an episode. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Eileen. I'm your host, Eileen Guido. Thanks for tuning in. Now, I know it's been far too long since my last episode, or at least it feels like it. It seems like each time I come on to record an episode, the world has exploded in some absolute chaos somehow. Now, with the most recent deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor occurred, I posted my support of the Black Lives Matter movement, but I wanted to wait and see if my disbelief and jumbled emotions could simmer down a bit so that I could come onto this podcast and express myself without being a rambling ball of incoherent emotions. Now, to tell you the truth, I'm not there yet, but perhaps, maybe that's just the way it's supposed to be. Now, let's get one thing straight from jump. I support the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's more than just a movement, okay? But I'll touch on that in just a little bit. As I said, I support Black Lives Matter. I am anti-racism. I am anti-police brutality, not anti-police. Too many people hear what they want to hear when you say you support the anti-brutality. They take it to mean that you're against the police, and that's simply not true, at least not for me. I am for fair policing, which means to protect and serve the people of the community and not have separate rules for different segments of that community in which they are serving. I am fully aware that law enforcement officers have to make split-second decisions in life-threatening situations. However, every situation is not life-threatening, and an encounter with someone in our community should not be life-threatening to the person who is dealing or encountering the police. Now, this movement has been going on a long time, and just by different names. Now, back in the day, back in the 60s, well before I was born, it was a civil rights movement. And now that we have those, it's taken on a different form of just demanding what everyone should have, which is just to be treated with human decency and dignity. Now, folks, this is a marathon. This isn't going to fade out anytime soon. It's not a sprint. So whenever someone speaks up or speaks out, we shouldn't admonish them with, "Why'd you take so long?" And I've been hearing a lot of that, not just from me, but from other people. You know, when the time comes, when the words and actions fall into place, that's the right time for that person. And it's going to be different for everyone. We're going to need people to be in this fight for justice every step of the way, so people don't get tired and peter out and it's forgotten. And to use another sports analogy, we need others to pass the baton to along the way. Now, some people have asked me, "Eileen, why do you even bother supporting the Black Lives Movement? You're not black." So let me clear this up, okay? Firstly, I am human, and my soul cries out when any human is treated inhumanely or unjustly. That should just be the norm for everyone. Secondly, I'm of Puerto Rican descent, which means, now we're going to go into a tiny bit of history here, folks, okay? Which means that my ancestors are a mixture of the natives of the island of Puerto Rico, or Borinquen, as the Taínos. Those are the indigenous people. That's what they called it, okay? So I'm a mixture of the Taínos, of the Spaniards, those conquistadors that came over, and sometimes some other Europeans such as Italian, Portuguese, and French, but mostly it's the Spaniards, okay? And the Africans that were brought over on slave ships. Puerto Rico, meaning rich port, okay, was a stop on the trade routes. All right? The natives and the slaves brought over were once again enslaved, captured, enslaved, conquered, and almost completely wiped out during the course of the oppression there, okay? Dig into the history a little bit further, you'll see what I mean. Now, we speak the language of our oppressors, Spanish, not our native tongue. Yes, now it's considered native tongue, but honestly, we spoke another language, those of the indigenous people there, okay? So only a few native words survived, along with some customs from those indigenous people, the Taínos, some customs from the Africans that were brought over, and yes, of course, some of what the Europeans had once they were there. All of that is intertwined. So you see, whether or not people want to acknowledge the they are we, and the we is me. You get it? And all of this, it just continues to pain me as a mom, as a wife, a woman, and a human being, to have to see and hear about this for what seems like time and time again, over and over. It seems like a never-ending cycle. But I can't lose hope. Now, I myself have been spoken to and treated as less than just because of what I look like. Okay? And I'm pretty fair-skinned, as described by my Puerto Rican brothers and sisters. Okay? But that shouldn't matter how much melanin I have in my skin. It shouldn't matter whether my hair is curly, whether it's straight, whether I speak English, Spanish, anything. It shouldn't matter, and it shouldn't matter for Black folks either. It really shouldn't. And I worry about my kids, all three, all different shades. I worry about the world that I brought them into. I worry about the things that they have experienced or will have to experience should this continue to be out of hand. And that worry came to me early, even before I had children. Growing up, I vowed not to give my future kids ethnic names for fear of how they would be perceived before they even entered a room. I thought about their names on a resume and how I could give them a fair shake in this world by not having their nationality, their ethnicity immediately known by a name on a page. I denied them a piece of their heritage to give them a possible step forward. Now think about that. Think about what I just said. I chose to hold back a piece of their ancestry, if only in a name, in order to have the world see them equally. That shouldn't be. Just like there shouldn't be any judgment for whatever their skin tone is or anyone else's. Racism, it's a plague, it's a virus, it's a generational curse of exposure and teaching. A way of thinking based on ignorance and fear of what isn't known or appreciated. History is an account of facts, but if these facts are only collected from one source or one group of the population experiencing and witnessing it, that account is skewed. Now, how do we eradicate this plague for good? I wish I knew. All we can do is keep moving forward with the necessary, difficult conversations, the willingness to have that dialogue, teaching, learning, and respecting one another. Closed minds never open new doors of opportunity. Thanks for listening, and thanks for joining me on my quest to inspire others, one conversation at a time. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Conversations with Eileen, and on Twitter at Convos with Eileen. This way, you'll have updates, behind-the-scenes news, information on local or national events, volunteer opportunities, and you can also review, comment, or leave me messages as well. Did you know that you can leave me comments, reviews, voice messages, or even show topic ideas just by using the voice messaging feature on the Anchor app? It's super simple. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you found value in today's message, feel free to share my podcast. You can also take a screenshot and tag me on social media at Conversations with Eileen. Just a reminder, this is a listener-supported podcast. Any donations are greatly appreciated and help make a positive impact in our community. If you need a speaker for your next event, assistance with workshop creation, or a facilitator for your workshop, contact me via Facebook or Instagram.